A few moments ago, we boarded a Pan-Agra plane at Miami. Destination, the rainforests of the Amazon, the Grand Pajanal east of the Peruvian Andes, one of the world's last unconquered frontiers. Once I read about the Spanish conquistadores. They were the first of a stream of fortune hunters who ever since 1532 have sought the riches of gold, the unknown, armed with light tackle, to see, to experience, to know, but not to conquer. The excitement of the trip has hit us hard. Bill and I are going to the Peruvian jungles for the same reasons we went to Alaska to catch king salmon. Not only to battle the king salmon, but also for the thrill of going to a new place. Sure, I caught a salmon, but I'll never forget the mysterious northern light. Now we're out to get the deadliest fish swimming the waters of the earth, piranha. The question, will these man-eaters of the Amazon yield to the lure of modern tackle? There's only one way to find out, and by gosh, we aim to find out. First stop, Lima, Peru. We're about to enter a world different from anything we've ever known. Peru, land of contrasts. The home of the great Atahualpa and his Incan people who fought Pizarro's conquistadores and lost. Land of the towering Andes. Cradle of the 1,000-mile Amazon. Home of the weird, flat-headed Indians and of the naked Campas. The crook and the dusty run remind us that this is the last outpost of civilization. Next point of destination, the jungle. People are people. Pushing around through this crowd makes me feel as though it's just another county fair, only south of the equator. Here on the shores of the UCAYALI is the perfect example of a town living from its river. It doesn't seem to matter much to the locals that their drinking water is a happy mixture of churned up mud. The washing of clothes and swimming of the kids all add to the flavor of this unforgettable drinking H2O. Visiting firemen, that's what we are, or at least the young fry make us feel that way. I wonder what kind of an escort Pizarro had. History sure is a funny thing. Every page of it, written just because some man wanted to go somewhere or do something. All the arrangements for a guide have been made. Juan's our man. I should really say boy, he's only 18. He's a seasoned guide who has penetrated some of the most remote parts of the Amazon forests forbidden to most men. This 120-degree heat feels like the backdraft of a blast furnace. But it doesn't seem to be bothering Juan. Me, I'm from the States. Can't do much with fancy lingo. So by pointing and grunting, I've tried to get across the ideas that we have about taking primitive game fish with modern tackle. 1,000 miles by hand paddling is too much to think about. Why not match the dependability of machine against the savagery of the jungle? This outboard motor is no plaything in this kind of country. It might well mean the difference between life and death. Senor Sisley to the rescue. Maybe he can get the details across to Juan. Juan is wondering how we can possibly expect to challenge the many moves of these waters. I guess you never know what to expect. Shallow waters, savage waters, sticks, and jungle rubble. A few words from Senor Sisley, and it looks like everything is straightened out for Juan. Up at dawn to make the final changes on our dugout canoe. Oh, we're going to do it the hard way. Talk about contrasts. A modern outboard motor on a type boat probably as ancient as man's early history. And the pilot, Juan, of course. From paddle to outboard in one easy lesson. And Juan is trying not to show the strain. Finally, we're on our way. I'm looking pretty hard at the Pucallpa skyline. Who knows when we'll see it again. So far, it looks like a good river, this UCAYALI. Broad, deep, calm, friendly. But Juan wasn't kidding when he talked about its changing moods. Sparkling blue one minute, and next, muddy brown, filled with skeletons of dead timber projecting from the water. What are these jaws of menacing wood that gape at us? As if in sudden anger, the waters tug at us, as though to turn us back from our quest. Small whirlpools that dot the water seem to follow us. And now, peaceful waters again, with friendly freshwater porpoises rolling playfully alongside. Up to this point, there's been one question in my mind. Where do you catch fish in a strange country? You look in the middle of the river, the shoreline? Where? Fact of the matter is, I'm not even certain as to the kind of fish we're looking for. That's the problem. We're looking for something, but don't know exactly what. Juan says there might be chambira schooling near these rafts of cedar. Well, we came here to find out, so let's find out. There's something vaguely familiar about the way this character is acting. Chambira, our first score against the river. Chambira, thin as a billfold after taxes, and with a lower jaw straight out of a nightmare. But even with those 2-inch fangs, he's still a sucker for a surface lure. After that opening skirmish, we decided to hit shore for a look around. If Juan can do it, I can too. Why, I used to be the town's champion fence walker. After all, what's the difference between a pole and a fence? Must be the heat. The jungle is a vast gallery of spectators, all watching the big show. As we go deeper into the interior, I have a feeling we're the main attraction. We know that the really primitive Indian tribes live just 5 or 6 miles inland. We're sticking close to the river. It's the closest thing to civilization in this territory. Juan has been muttering something all day long about headhunters. The long-haired Campas, headhunters of South America. Now I know why Juan has been so uneasy. It's of life and death importance. We remember this jungle is deadly. These headhunters wouldn't hesitate to chop off our heads, shrink them to the size of a baseball. The heat has hit about 120 degrees, and the insects are making life miserable. Poisonous boroshudas, devils that sting through your clothes. We've entered the home of the 10-foot cannibal tigerfish. Freshwater sharks, 3,000 miles from the salty ocean. ants whose single bite will cause blindness. We've stepped into the middle of hell. 3 men, alone, on this narrow, tippy, dugout canoe. And our very lives rest in the hands of this 18-year-old Peruvian boy, Juan. We're approaching a village of Chamas Indians, a matriarchy which Juan claims is friendly. I sure hope he's right. These gals rule the roost around here, Amazons in every sense of the word. Often after a big battle, it's these innocent-looking women who mutilate the fallen. Most of the killing that's done is because these women keep nagging at their husbands to get more slaves. These gals have a system all their own. If the husband gets too frisky, a taste of Floripondo plant juice turns him into a kind of walking zombie with neither will nor wit. Nice kids. I know one thing sure. We don't aim to put any strain on their hospitality. There's only one thing we want, information about fish. Her face seems friendly enough, but I wonder what she's thinking. Actually, our one real aim is to find the piranha. Our general destination is an obscure inland lake called Y Maria, but our friend keeps saying something about the Pecci. According to this native, fishing for Pecci is a complicated affair. First, the men form a cage with poles, beat the water vigorously to drive the fish, have the spear ready to throw. When you spot it, heave, and finish it off with a knife. These Pecci often are 9 feet long, weigh up to 400 pounds. The meat resembles veal, with little or any fish flavor. Funny thing about this fish is that it has the tail of our bowfin. Like a cow, it has more than one stomach. Its head and behavior is similar to a muskie, but it has no teeth. There's a combination for you. Is this really the 20th century? Or has some twist of nature thrown us back into the prehistoric past? The sight of this patron's home is a welcome relief after the miles of bewildering jungle behind us. If our mosquito nets aren't up by sundown, we'll be eaten alive by the clouds of insects looking for warm flesh. Our nets are not perfect protection against the buzzing swarms of blood-hungry mosquitoes. This first night, I can think only of the deadly night-hunting snakes, big around as a man's thigh, which stalks and strikes without stopping until the victim is dead. Pleasant thoughts for dreaming. We've reached the junction point of the Rio Bambo, Tamaya, and UCAYALI. This morning, we're trying deep-running lures. Bill's in business already. What the... is that a largemouth bass? Or a baby tarpon? Corbina. I was right. It does look like a largemouth bass. And tail walks across the water like a good old Florida tarpon. So help me, Juan looks completely buffaloed. Our bright hunks of metal just don't add up to him. That crazy fool fish surfaces, pauses, and then does a toe dance. and he has a lateral stripe like a snook. Fast, hard-hitting fighter despite the warm temperature of these waters. We've left the UCAYALI and have cut off to the Putumayo, heading west towards the Andes. The jungle is pressing in ever closer. I have a crazy feeling that even this narrow, shallow river bitterly resents our presence. With the lyric poetry of the Latin, Peruvians have named this worst jungle region in the entire Amazon basin La Selva, the forest. The water is a dirty brown and has a stagnant stench. The crocs look kind of hungry. A few more swipes like that and they'll flip this dugout. The stream narrows and the jungle reaches down to claw at us. The Shambira vines form a network of living traps. The jungle odors of rot and decay are sickening. The eyes of the jungle are on us. The Indian tribes speak of prehistoric monsters still surviving and roaming these forests. Notes of the explorer, Colonel P.H. Fawcett, have been found describing an 80-foot reptile weighing 25 tons. Fawcett thought it might have been a diplodocus, a dinosaur, thought by scientists to have disappeared from the face of the earth millions of years ago. In 1925, Fawcett and his party went back into the bush and disappeared forever. No trace of them was ever found. Our search for Lake Maria and the cannibal piranha has alerted every living creature in the bush. Somewhere up ahead, lost in the jungle, is Maria, called by the Indians Lake of Mystery. Suddenly we've broken from the brush into a lake so immense it staggers the imagination. Lake Maria. It must be. This place has a brooding silence. Not a sign of life anywhere. This must be the home of the piranha. It's a relief to be out in the open again. The air smells fresh, almost sweet. Bill's asleep already. Juan is at the fire, maintaining his nightly vigil. Tomorrow morning, we go after the fish spawned in hell, a name which freezes the blood of the fiercest tribes. Papaya breakfast, jungle style. It's a beautiful morning with all the jungle around us in a friendly mood, we hope. Juan thinks there might be a Chamas tribe living near here. He was right. A village of Chamas out here in this vast nothingness. They dress in colorful bark cloth, similar to the South Sea island tapa. The braves wear a silver piece in the nose. At least we have one thing in common. They're fishermen, and so are we. One thing I've learned, never leave the boat until after your guide has made certain everything is all right. Be generous with gifts. A machete to the chief small mirrors and combs to the others. Savages are like children. Any show of weakness or desired harm might be fatal. In reply to my questions about piranha, the chief has brought us to the pitiful spectacle of this woman, keeping constant vigil over the grave of her husband, killed and eaten by the piranha. All that remained were a few shreds of cloth, and over these she grieves. There's now no doubt in our minds about the friendliness of these people. They're fishermen who want to lead peaceful lives, but only a few miles back in the brush are the head-hunting Campus tribes, killers of the jungle. The women's more pleasant pastime consists of making beer. Their chewing and spitting probably contributes to the flavor. With this delicious beverage as a stimulant, raiding parties are planned, and young Chamas women provide perfect victims. Savage Campus on one side and piranha on the other. Which is worse? The chief says 2 Americans on a scientific expedition were here 3 years ago. They witnessed the incredible savagery of the piranha. An animal, unlucky enough to fall in the water, drives the piranha mad with lust. The water becomes a boiling cauldron as thousands of these devils attack. And in a matter of seconds, all that remain are a few bones. The homicidal fury of their attack defies imagination. We've heard enough to realize the best thing to do with these devils is use wire leader and metal lures. Apparently, the piranha can chew blocks of wood into splinters. Who would think that such beauty could harbor such horrors? I still don't believe it. It's impossible. 2 strikes right off the bat. Devilfish? This? Why, so help me, they looked like plain old bluegills. Now, how could a little old sunfish like this eat a man in seconds? Coca leaves. That's what these Indians have been chewing. Well, it was a long trip getting here, so we might as well try for a few more. Devilfish. Huh. All the same, they sure kick up one heck of a rumpus. The way Bill is yanking and tugging, you'd think he had a... Funny thing is, there are no other fish around. Hi. I'm convinced. If one can do that, what can a school of 10,000 do? This is no myth. No wonder there are no other fish around here. These devils have killed and eaten everything else in the lake. You might call these piranhas wolves of the water. They travel in packs, have one object, kill and devour. From now on, I intend treating these cookies with a heap of respect. The word piranha means toothed fish. With that dental structure, it means the scourge of the Amazon. A chunk of diabolical with it, completely beautiful. The greatest adventure of our lives. How can I ever forget the suddenness of the Amazon night and jet black the next? Swarms of humming mosquitoes and insects. The ghostly hiss of the anaconda, the 12-foot bushmaster, stalking death. These are sounds of the jungle never forget. I know we've seen things beyond our wildest expectations. But gnawing at the back of my mind is the thought, what haven't we seen? Only the mind of that 18-year-old boy, maintaining constant vigil at the fire, knows this jungle and owns. Only he knows both the endless activity of millions of years continues. The jaguar still screams in the night, and out in the bush, death lurks, waiting for her victims over the floor of the jungle. The aborigines eat their meat raw. Our coming has been but a mere ripple on the surface of the eternal jungle. We didn't come to conquer or destroy. Hope that what we've left, I think it's worthwhile. But I know nothing has been changed. This is the Amazon, beyond the Andes.